You're listening to the Live Free podcast. I'm your host, Christine, certified life coach, pain to power mentor, and creator of Embody You Mindset Mastery School. I'm here today to discuss living life after disease, disaster, or adversity, to discuss living life fully once again, a life of hope, peace, and resiliency, a life fully embodied. I utilize the lessons that I learned going through not one, but two primary cancers. I'm here today to guide you to the life of your dreams, turn your pain into power, and lead you back to yourself. And we're ready to go. So welcome to my first podcast. My apologies in advance for the fumbling. I just wanted to kind of let you know a little bit about what I do, who I am, why, what do I have to offer you, what's the focus of the pod and everything like that. And also a little bit about my introduction and my story. So what happened and why am I here? So let's start with who. I am a small town girl from Saskatchewan, and I have been through the ringer in the last year. Prior to that, I was an entrepreneur of some kind. I have been a yoga instructor. I've been an energy healer, jewelry designer, multiple different styles of careers, everything like that. But more than anything, I'm truly a self-help, self-love enthusiast. So I've spent far more than 10,000 hours researching the mind, the brain, humans, why we do what we do, how we can do it better, and everything like that. So I truly have become an expert in my field. I didn't really realize it until I started into this cancer journey, which, by the way, I did not expect. I did not see coming. But that's when it really showed up. That's when I was noticing, like, oh my gosh, everything that I learned is truly falling into place here, and it's truly helping me through this process. And that has been so freeing. So freeing. And before we get into the story, I was going to let you know kind of a little bit about the focus of this pod. So what I want to do going forward, now that I've learned so much and kind of like stepped into truly my power and who I am as a person, then I decided that I was going to create a podcast about living free. And what I mean by living free is, that constant chatter in the back of your head that makes you feel like you're almost sort of bound to this crazed version of yourself that's just listening all the time. That is what I want to help people to get rid of, is just this chatter that just tells us that we aren't enough, and tells us that, worry about this, and this person slighted me, or the opposite, I slighted this person, or whatever. And when you go through a cancer journey like I have gone through, you truly realize that just there's so much that we do to harm ourselves, and so little that we do to proactively just enjoy our damn lives. Oh, by the way, I swear in this podcast. I hope that's appropriate. Well, I mean, it probably isn't appropriate, but that's okay, because you can choose to stop the podcast if you don't like swearing. Not big swears, don't worry, just like damn and shit, so it's fine. Anyway, so, okay. So moving on from this topic. Sorry, I needed some coffee. Okay, so moving on from this topic. My story. Okay, so right now I am recording this in April 2021. And in July 2020, I was laying in bed, and it was just the way that I looked at my husband that I noticed this divot in my breast. So I could physically see breast tissue pulling down towards my body in a certain spot. And I was like, what in the heck is this? See, not that bad on the swears. Moving on. So I saw that and what the heck is this? So then I felt around, lo and behold, huge lump. Like those really big gobstoppers when you were a kid. Totally dating myself, but the really big ones like that. So yeah, panic stricken, of course. How the hell did I not notice this? All of that sort of stuff. Told my husband. He was like, oh, I'm sure it's just a cyst. Like, it's going to be fine. Blah, blah, blah. He went to sleep. I bawled my eyes out for hours. More coffee. 1 second. Okay. So then, after all of that, I booked my appointment, blah, blah, blah. They were like, yeah, no, you're good. Everything's fine. I'm sure it's just a cyst also. And we'll send you for an ultrasound just to be sure. Which, I mean, thank you to that doctor for lying, looking back at it, because wow, that was a kindness and there's no way that it wasn't. Did my ultrasound, then the ultrasound tech was like, ooh, okay, we're going to do a mammogram. And I'm like, oh, that doesn't sound good. More tests is never good. And after that, the doctor comes in and he says, Christine, it's not benign. And when you hear something like that, that moment in the movies where kind of everything starts to hiss, but you can see the doctor's mouth moving, but you can't hear what he's saying. That is exactly what happened. I don't recall most of that day. I do recall walking out to my car and finding a ticket on my windshield and being like, are you kidding me? Like, damn that parking attendant. But all jokes aside, it was a whirlwind after that, just of tests and doctors and confirming and not confirming and just all of that. And it was terrifying. And the scans that needed to be done and everything like that, I got them all back on August the, I want to say 8th. And that's when the doctor called me and confirmed, like, this is what cancer you have, and this is what we're going to do about it. So we decided on 5 months of neoadjuvant chemo, followed by surgery, followed by 4 weeks of radiation. And like, what you got to know about me is that I'm not the type of person to agree with medical paradigms and to agree with pills and surgery and all this sort of stuff. Like, I'm very much the lifestyle type of person. I always thought, like, if I get cancer someday, not that I expected it by any means, but like, one asks themselves, like, if I ever get cancer someday, I would do this. And for me, I believed that I would totally be that person to be like, screw the medical system. I'm not doing any of that crap. I'm going to eat super healthy, move to Mexico, and, heal myself from the inside out. And I thought I was going to be that person. But when someone tells you like, hey, we can heal you, it's going to suck. But like, you got like a 70% chance of living if you do treatment. I was like, give me the drugs. And like I said, I did not expect myself to be that kind of person at all. So this was a huge paradigm shift for me. It was very difficult. And is like, to this day, I still am like, thank the drugs, please thank the drugs. But like most of the time I'm thinking like stupid chemicals in my system. But I digress. So we discussed to start chemo on September the 8th. And I like, the first thing I did is I went and got a naturopath, and I went and got a clairvoyant to help me out with kind of some of the path that way. And notify my boss. I was working at a health food store at the time. Lucky. And, she opted to help me, with her years and years of education to find health as well. So we started assembling a team. My naturopath, who is amazing. And if you are from Saskatchewan and dealing with cancer, please hit me up on my social media and ask me whom my naturopath is, because this woman saved my life. So she's Dr. K. Dr. K said to me, okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to do 5 months of vitamin C treatments alongside your chemotherapy treatments. And what vitamin C treatments are going to do is they are going to sensitize the chemo to work better, as well as they're going to protect your healthy tissues, which was music to my ears, you guys, because I'm very much the type of person who I just want to protect the health of my body. And over and over and over again, I want to protect the health of my body. And that's what I'm going to help you do too going forward. Okay. So, but in this instance, this is what I needed. That is what I needed to hear. So I was like, okay, cool. Let's do it. How much? It's just like $400 a week. I'm like, oh my God. Okay. Yeah. All right. We'll figure it out. And then I said, okay, so what other treatments should we do? She said, we're going to do hyperthermia twice a week. I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah. What's hyperthermia? And that is kind of like a super, super gentle radiation. It's slightly heating the tissues just to the temperature that cancer cells freak out, and healthy cells are just warm and cozy. And that also sensitizes the tissues. It just kind of like, it oxygenates the tissues to the max, is the idea of hyperthermia. It's like going for a 30-minute walk every single day. So I was like, okay, so, what do we need to do here? How much is this? And she's like, yeah, for sure. So we'll do it twice a week. It's $400 every time. So $800 a week. Okay. Holy moly. I'm like, okay. All right. We'll have to think about that one. And then she said, okay, and then we'll do mistletoe. That's $200 a month. And then we're going to do supplements, and we're going to do a lot of supplements. And that's going to cost you roughly, I don't know, like looking back on it, maybe like $300 a month. So ergo, me starting to panic, because the thing that I want to do more than anything else in the world is crazy expensive, but it's going to save my body. It's going to help the chemo work better. It's going to prevent reoccurrence, all these things. And then the medical system, which, yay, Canada, is going to be paid for in full, except for you're going to suffer hard and your body is going to get drilled down to nothing. So I'm like, what do I do? Talked to some friends, talked to some family, and I was like, I think I'm just gonna have to do it. Like, we're gonna have to dig into our savings. We're gonna get this going because, life's more important, right? And one of my cousins, she, amazing woman, she said, let's start a GoFundMe. So she did. And that's when my healing journey really began. Because, there was all this fear and everything like that. There's all this fear and everything like that. And I am so scared and so not ready for this. And, there's pokes and prods and all this sort of stuff. And in the midst of all of this, something beautiful was born. Love. I had an outpouring of love. When everybody found out, because in order to set up a GoFundMe, you obviously have to tell everybody, hey, P.S., everyone, I have cancer. And that step was huge because I just had messages and donations and messages and donations and calls and flowers and gifts and cards and, you name it. And this person who I was, which was, in my opinion, a very balanced, very educated person from years of self-work. However, there was this fear of not enoughness. There was this fear that I'm not loved. There was this fear, that there was so much in life that I just, was just falling short on, right? Small town girl from Saskatchewan, who am I? And that sort of syndrome. And I became the most loved person that I've ever met. And that sets you free, when you just realize, holy moly, you are so much more special to people than you gave yourself credit for. And, here's your proof. Here's your proof that you are unstoppable, and it was so beautiful. So what we ended up doing was funding exactly the amount that I needed in order to get through my 5 months of chemotherapy, with joy, ease, health, most importantly, and, this feeling of love coming into it. So I was ready. Let's do this. The next 5 months were not easy. That metaphor of chemo being like boating yourself out to an island with no, food, water, love, health, social connection, anything, that felt so real to me. On Lonely Island, on my little dinghy, completely alone. And to boot, very important that we mention here that getting cancer in a pandemic sucks a lot because there was no casseroles, there was no people showing up and cleaning my house, there was no visitors to help me feel better. There was lots of video calls and there was lots of gifts and that sort of thing. So don't get me wrong, I had an outpouring of love, yes. But I was missing that social aspect, that hugging, that thing, that stuff that I really needed. So that was rough. But they were really hard months. And, irregardless of all of the health that I had coming in from my naturopathic, I still ended up very sick. And you know what? The reason that I ended up very sick was because we sensitized the tissues to the chemo. And that was really important to do because we needed the chemo to work better, and that made the side effects to some degree a little worse, a little better in some places and a little worse in others. And, that's all part of it, right? That was that breakdown before the change, which we will talk about in another episode or in another many episodes, talking about discomfort before growth. So that was uncomfortable and that was hard. And that's what it needed to be, was uncomfortable and hard, because you cannot become the superhero that you want to become, by sitting back and, just becoming. There's going to be a breakdown. And that's what that was for me, was that breakdown. So, okay. So the chemo finished. Most beautiful day of my life, coming in and saying like, this is the end of it. At that point, I was a shamble of a human being, you guys. Like, I was so sore. I had sores in every place imaginable. Like, I felt like I was, one of those, victims of some type of plague in the movies, like you see, by the end of it, I was a shamble of a human being. And then I started some healing. I kind of jumped back into some walking and eating really well, and more supplements and change up with my naturopathic and that sort of stuff, and that sort of thing. So by the time we got to surgery, I was feeling quite well. Like, I was kind of like, oh yeah, the worst is behind me. Let's move on. So I was so scared coming into my breast surgery. I had no idea what was going to happen. No one educates you on these steps. What's chemo look like? What's surgery look like? And everything like that. And so coming into surgery, I had just finished weekly chemotherapy. I had twice a week vitamin C IV treatments. Like, I've had needles 3 to 4 times a week for 5 months. And so, like, I'm thinking I know pain at this point, right? And coming into this surgery, I was so scared because I just didn't know what to expect. And I didn't know, like, I wasn't so scared of pain, but I was really scared of, what is my breast going to look like? What's my body going to look like? Like, at this point, like, I had, I was swollen and had gained weight from these procedures, and just feeling so ill, and my skin was still kind of gray and everything like that. And now they're telling me that they're going to cut up my boob, and I'm like, oh my God, like, can this get any worse? Can you rob a woman of what makes a woman anymore, right? And but I just went back to trust over and over again through this whole process. I just went back to trust. I went back to my self-work. Like, life is for me, not to me. There's got to be something in this, right? Which we'll talk about on another episode as well. Life is not for me. Sorry, is not to me. It is for me. Yeah. So, we moved into my breast surgery. I came out and they had they had kept almost all of my breast tissue. So I got to keep my boobs, you guys. That was huge. They did a lymph node removal, so I couldn't feel my arm. And yeah, and the first thing I asked my husband was like, do I still have boobs? And he goes, yes, sweetie, you still have boobs. I'm like, oh my God, thank God, burst into tears. So happy. Who would have thought, like you spend your whole life just like, well, I don't know about you, but it depends on who you are and who the listener is. But you spend so much of your life critiquing your body, especially if you're a woman, and wishing, oh, I wish I had bigger boobs. I wish they were more together or whatever. I wish I was slimmer. I wish I was. And then someone tells you that your boobs are exactly the way that they were before. And it's just like, you feel like a supermodel. You're like, yes. So, also very freeing. Loved that. Yeah. So, after that, it was painful. But, at that point, it felt like pain was an old friend. It wasn't too bad. The lymph node removal was painful on the back of the arm. It was difficult to do medial tasks, but, we popped back into physio, and we were able to get some health back into my body fairly quickly. So it took 2-3 weeks, for those of you who are going into your cancer journey, 2-3 weeks before I was feeling pretty good. I would say quite well. I was going for daily walks and everything was pretty good. And one thing that I haven't told you guys throughout this entire journey, wait for it, is about month 1 into my chemo, we did a scan where they found out that there was a nodule on my lung. So, yeah. So we found out about this nodule, and stage 4 was the first thing that popped into our head. Okay. So this was not an early caught cancer. We knew it to be stage 3, stage 3C, as far as we knew, because of the size of the tumor, lemon-sized tumor, that was connected to lymph node involvement. So we knew it was very close to stage 4 already. And then we find this lung nodule. So, of course, panic, right? And, that sat in the back of my mind for ever. Every moment of every day, I'm just wondering, like, oh my God, do I have stage 4? To give you some background, they call stage 4 a non-curative cancer, or they call it an end-stage cancer. Now, very important for those of you that are listening to my podcast right now who have been through your cancer journey and are worried about stage 4, that stage 4 from a doctor's perspective is those things. From the alternative health perspective is not those things, okay? So if you're facing a stage 4, do not panic, okay? I understand that I'm saying that while I was panicking, but, this is what we do. We are human, and we get scared for these types of things. So, okay. So moving forward from there, don't worry, we're almost done. I decided that we would get it tested and everything like that. We checked into it, and we did test after test, and each test kept failing. So we didn't get enough cells, or, whatever, the machine was malfunctioning that day or whatever else. So I thought there's got to be something to this, that we keep failing. And so then let's fast forward to surgery. They're like, what do you want to do with the lung nodule? We still don't know what it is. And I was like, take it. Like, let's get it out. I can handle it. At this point, you're starting to develop a little bit of a superhero complex. You're like, okay, like, if you think I'm scared of pain, you are wrong. This is a daily thing. I'm fine. And anyway, so I said, take it. Let's take it out. So the surgeons were, we prepared, we got it ready. And within 3.5 weeks after my breast surgery, I'm back in the hospital and we're taking this lung nodule out. And to say that it was the scariest period of my life to date is an understatement. Because what happened next is when I went in for the surgery, of course I was really nervous. When I came out, the pain medication that they had given me, for whatever reason, it did not work for me. And when I say did not work, I mean as if I was on no pain medication. And when you come out of a major lung surgery on what feels like no pain medication, your vitals go out of whack. Your body is in extreme distress mode. You are sipping for air. Your heart is going at like what feels like actually a mile a minute. There's a tightening in your chest, a pain response, and it feels, as if you're going to die, and I remember the nurses telling me like, calm down, it's going to be okay. But you think back to the movies and that's what somebody tells you when you're about to die. So I didn't believe them. I panicked and I kept panicking, and I was in distress for an hour and a half. I stopped breathing a couple of times. My oxygen level was in dangerous levels. And like I said, I was just in so much pain and I believed that I was going to die. And when you have what feels like, now of course I know now that I was safe. I'm aware of that. But when you have what feels like a near-death experience, and not just near, like death's door experience, something shifts in you. You become different as a person, otherworldly as a person. And I cannot describe to you how it happened, but old me died that day. And this new person sees the world so much differently. So this is why I bring this podcast to you, because I've got so much to say after that experience, and I want to share it with you. So after that, it took some time. That one took some time to heal from. It sure did. And, mainly it was the mental aspect, more than anything. This disintegrating of who old me was and who this, new me looks like. And that took some time. That took a lot of time. And that's still taking time at times, right? And I did heal physically, my body did heal. And and that's where we are now, actually. I started my podcast preemptive. I'm not finished. I'm technically in remission as far as we know, which is why I decided to start a podcast. Nothing has been, confirmed yet. I haven't rang any bells or popped any bottles of Dom Perignon just yet. So stay tuned for that. But as far as we know, I'm in remission. Okay. So I decided to start a podcast to get going on, the rest of my life. From here, we've got 4 weeks of radiation treatments to do. So we're going to get started on 4 weeks of radiation treatments on the breast while we do more testing to make sure, we're just making sure that everything is all good with the lung nodule. Because as it turns out, you won't believe it. I didn't believe it. I had to Google, can pathology make mistakes? And turns out no. It looks like, we've just recently gotten the pathology back on the lung. It looks like it is a primary cancer. Whoa. So what that means is that I do not have stage 4. So that's a reason to celebrate. Instead, I have, let me clarify, had 2 primary cancers, lung cancer and breast cancer. So what does that mean? Well, we don't know. We don't know yet why I had 2. But I'll tell you what I think it means. What I think it means is that I have been truly blessed by divine timing. That I am one lucky SOB, because if I wouldn't have had breast cancer, such aggressive breast cancer, so late in the game that I caught it, we would not have found this lung nodule, number 1. We would not have feared it, even if we did find it, because I'm 32 years old, extremely healthy, exercise, eating well, the whole gambit. I do not smoke. I have never smoked. I have no reason to see lung cancer as a possibility. So we would have missed it, you guys. We would have missed it. So everything aligned, because life does not happen to you. It happens for you. And what happened for me, oddly enough, was stage 3 breast cancer. Because the reason that we were able to catch stage 1 lung cancer so early, to the point where we could remove it in its entirety, is because of the breast cancer. Okay? So what a blessing. And that is truly the way that I see this. I have no idea why I have lung cancer, had lung cancer. I have no idea why that came to pass. And I will eventually find out, because everything is, again, is for you, not to you. I will eventually find out. But, we're going to get this all figured out. But what a blessing. How beautiful is this world, that this divine timing would save my life. We wouldn't have known until it was too late. And that is the truth. That is the honest to God truth. We would not have known. So breast cancer saved my life. And that is another reason why I am starting this podcast, why I am wanting to let you all know how you can live life more freely, because I've been given a second chance and I'm not going to squander it. I'm going to share the expansion that I can give the world, and you're going to listen to it. And you know what? You're either going to love it or you're not, and that's fine. But I'm going to keep telling you, and I'm going to keep telling you, and I'm going to keep telling you. I'm going to create so much expansion for you if you want to tune in and keep listening. So where are we at? Let's wrap this up. We are starting 4 weeks of radiation therapy for the breast. We do not need to radiate the lung, and the reason that we don't is because we caught it so early. Thank you, blessing. And then we're done. Then I'm ringing that bell, and I cannot wait for all of this to be a lesson and a thing of the past. I do not identify as a battler. I do not identify as a survivor. And you know what? If you are listening in because you are going through your cancer journey, then please do not think that I think that survivor or battle are bad words. If they fit for you, just use them. But for me, I do not identify as a survivor or a battler. And the reason that I do not is because this came to me as a way to free me, as a way to free my life and my journey. So for that reason, I am a lesson learner. That's what this cancer was for. Is it going to make me better, or is it going to make me bitter? And like I said in the beginning of this podcast, I truly believe that it has made me better. So that is my story, everyone. I am so excited to, in a later podcast, let you know the good news that everything is done and over and that it is completely behind me. For now, we're just going to dive into the work. So we're going to dive into living more freely, getting cozy with discomfort, breakdown before the change, everything like that. We're gonna get into this, okay? And it's gonna be a couple episodes a month. I am very much not the person to structure myself into anything. One of my core values is freedom. So one of my podcasts will just pop up, and you can check back into it. But I would say approximately one a week is what we're looking at here, okay? And they will be much shorter than this podcast. So thank you so much for listening in to my story. And I hope that you have found something beautiful in it. And I hope that I have been able to, shake away some of the cobwebs already for you in your journey to living more free. And if you are just kind of joining in, and this is the start of your cancer journey, or if this is the start of your fibromyalgia journey, or if this is the start of your, mental journey or whatever, just know that this podcast is for you. If you have no journey at all and you have decided that you want to just learn from everything that, I've been through, that I can help aid you in a journey that has more ease and more joy, then this podcast is for you, okay? So you do not need to be a cancer survivor. That is not the target audience that I'm wanting to work with. But that being said, if you are going through your cancer journey, then know that I am here for you. You're welcome to reach out to me on social media, and I would be happy to kind of guide you along on some of the different things that I've been through. I eventually will be creating a masterclass, so this will eventually be a thing that is available to you. Of course, this is April of 2021, and this could be years down the road that you are listening to this podcast. So there may at that point be a masterclass available to you to help you through your cancer journey. We will see. This is going to grow and grow and grow, and I cannot wait to see what's in store for me and for you and everything like that. So we're going to go on this journey together, okay? So thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in to my podcast. Thank you for creating space, for listening to my journey, and being vulnerable and listening and everything like that. You are amazing. You are beautiful. You are far more powerful than you are even aware of at all just yet. So we're going to dive into the work moving forward from all of these podcasts. So a little bit less about me and a little bit more about you. I wish you all so much love today. I wish you to take a moment at some point during this day and think to yourselves, how blessed you are to be so, healthy or not healthy or whatever it is, but to find a blessing today. And yeah, truly go out there, find gratitude, find blessings, and know that life is very much for you, not to you. Okay? So much love to you all. We are looking forward to the following podcast from now. And go out there and live free. Okay? Bye now. Thank you so much for listening. If you found expansion with this last episode, then that means that others will too. And the best way to get the word out about the podcast is by leaving a review. I would be so grateful if you could leave me a review and let me know how you felt about the podcast. Included in the show notes will be everything that we talked about today, including all of my transformative programs. Change is just on the horizon, my friend.